Okay, so let's move on to question number 13. So question number 13 is saying 4 flasks were sterilized and set up as shown. So we have flask A, B, C, and D. Okay, then the question is saying which flask will contain most alcohol after several hours? Which flask will contain most alcohol after several hours? So they want us to identify the flask which is going to produce a huge or highest quantity of alcohol after several hours. So flask A has yeast and water at a temperature of 4 degrees Celsius. Then flask B has yeast and water at a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. Then flask C has yeast, sugar, and water at a temperature of 4 degrees Celsius, and D has yeast, sugar, and water at a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. Now, which flask is going to contain most alcohol after several hours? Okay, so now this question, it is based on what we call alcoholic fermentation. Alcoholic fermentation. So you know alcoholic fermentation. What is alcoholic fermentation? Alcoholic fermentation, this is the breaking down of glucose in the absence of oxygen to produce alcohol and carbon dioxide as the only byproducts. Alcoholic fermentation is the type of anaerobic respiration where glucose is decomposed in the absence of oxygen to produce alcohol and carbon dioxide as the only byproducts. Okay, so now for this process to be effective, one, let's look at temperature. Okay, we need to have a good temperature. We know that enzymes, if you have got a very low temperature, they become inactive. Then enzymes, if you have got a very high temperature, enzymes are denatured. Okay, so you need to have a normal optimum temperature, best temperature for enzymes to work on. So in this case, when you look at 4 degrees Celsius, which is in flask A, and 4 degrees Celsius, which is flask C. So these, they've got a very minimal temperature, which is 4 degrees Celsius. So meaning enzymes, they are going to be inactive. So alcoholic fermentation is going to be very slow in A and C. But when you look at B, let's look at now B and D. B and D, okay, we have a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius in both B and what? D. Okay. Now, for this process to be effective, we need to have sugar. Okay, because remember we are saying alcoholic fermentation is the breaking down of sugar or glucose. Breaking down of glucose, which is a sugar. Remember, glucose is a sugar because glucose is a monosaccharide. Okay, so when you say sugar, you can also refer this sugar to glucose. We can refer sugar to what? Starch. We can refer sugar to what? Sucrose, fructose, galactose. Okay, glycogen. All those are sugars, but from different what categories. Now, glucose is a sugar which is a monosaccharide, and we are saying an aerobic respiration, which is what? The breaking down of glucose in the absence of what? Oxygen. Okay, so meaning we need to have a sugar, or we need to have glucose. Okay, so sugar should be present, then yeast, and a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. So in this case, the correct answer is D. Yeast, sugar, and water at a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. So the answer is D. Sugar should be present, yeast should be present, and water at a temperature of what? 20 degrees what? Celsius. So these are the conditions for this particular question. it is not always that temperature should be at 20 degrees Celsius. It is not always. So according to this question, the answer is D. Okay, so these conditions, they are favoring alcoholic fermentation. So in flask D, we are going to have most alcohol after several hours.